installing lights on another Permobil chair. I'm going to do a separate video that is actually a proper tutorial on this, but got a friend here in the garage. What's up, John? So we've got some of these big like equipment work lights, and I wanted to check and see how much amperage they pull before we get them in. Whoa, focus. Okay, so this camera needs replacing. I'm definitely going to be doing that probably tomorrow. It started going all blurry and then it zoomed in and out by itself and everything. But yeah, so these lights are sort of on the larger side for a wheelchair, and I wanted to verify before we hook it up to the chair how many amps it pulls. I wanted to make sure, because the chair can handle like, I think 6 amps is safe with the wiring, but since these are huge, I wanted to verify. So at first I thought I was going to use this clamp ammeter here, but this only works with AC. And then I was like, oh, well, I can use the amp sensing mode on this thing. You know, move the wire over here and then run the light through here, but that seems annoying. Then I was like, oh yeah, I have a laboratory benchtop power supply here, and this is perfect. So I want to verify this thing actually works on 24 volts. He promises me that it does in fact work and it shouldn't let the smoke out of the box, but we're running the power from the supply through this, and it's going to tell us exactly how many amps we're pulling. I actually did this a minute ago, and then I was like, oh, I should be filming. But anyways, so we're going to set the blinding beacon right about here. And as you turn up the voltage, you can see what amperage it's drawing. So it turns on about 7 volts. There we go. All the LEDs light up at about 6.5, pulling 1.5 amps. Let me lock the exposure on this camera so you get the maximum effect of this thing. So we're going to go up to 12 volts. There we go. As you can see, that's pretty bright. I don't know why I thought having that clock would be a good idea in any sense of the word. So we can see here 12 volts, we've got some amount of brightness, and we're pulling exactly 1 amp. These lights, sometimes they have cheap, I won't say Chinesium, but they have chipsets and power supplies that are not very good. So as you run your voltage up to 24, they just get brighter and brighter and run the bulbs brighter, or hotter, or whatever. But this thing actually has a good chipset. I'm gonna lock the exposure again on the camera, and we'll turn it up to 24 volts. You'll see the brightness stays the same. The only thing that happens is our amperage goes down because we're using more voltage. So we'll crank this right up here. There we go, 24 volts. Now we're pulling basically half an amp, and our brightness is staying the same. Actually, okay. I felt like there was heat coming off of that. Oh, and actually that's a good thought. I'm gonna let this run for a minute and see how warm the thing gets, just for no reason. But only pulling half an amp, I'm pretty sure we're not gonna get that much heat out of this. So I was just trying to figure out what wiring we were gonna use to connect these lights to his chair. And I was looking all over the garage trying to find stuff, and then I was like, oh yeah, that one guy sent me this one box full of stuff. So we've settled on the yellow and red with the black wiring harness material. As much as I wanted to use bright yellow and red, I think we'll use black to hide it in his chair a little bit better, but yeah, thanks for the stuff. It's, I know you're saying you're sending more. It's, feel free to send whatever you don't need. Alright, so we've got the wiring pretty much set to go on this chair. Again, I will do a separate video once I figure out a safe way to tell you how to install a Permobil light kit. I'm not telling you right now because it's not 100%. Don't worry, I'm not going to break your chair. But I don't want to send this out to the masses until I'm 100% on this. So we've got our wiring coming out of the ICS box there, and it's just over there on the floor at the moment. But then I was noticing these light mounts are made from a TV wall mount, and well, they were originally attached right here, and while that's cool and all, I would rather make a mount that goes into the stock location right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this bracket and cut it up, and we're going to cut it down so it slides in here like so, and then there's a bolt hole right here that will hold it in place. So I'm going to be trimming this up into a few pieces using the bandsaw, and in theory it should make something that's usable. think these might be the droids I was looking for. We've got holes drilled here so that they will slide down into these slots and bolt in. By the way, this was the original mounting solution here. I mean, while it did work, it'll be nice to have these on here so that it's a little more solid. But I kind of screwed up when I was drilling these holes because, focus, these slide down into here, and then there's an existing bolt hole right here. But what I didn't factor in was how tiny the bolt is, and I drilled the holes too big. So see how that's like gonna tighten right through there? So what I'm doing now is we're gonna use this to mount the light bracket to, and I'm gonna flip it around and use this for what actually goes through here. And I was using a step drill bit to do these other ones, but I'm just gonna get a regular drill bit that way, because I mean this stuff is really thick and it's hard to get, like this thickness is about the same between the steps on the drill, so you wind up making a hole bigger than you want. So we'll get some normal drill bits and make this do something. Oh, I guess before I do this I need to rescribe where the holes are gonna be.
I don't have to.
No, focus down here. There we go. Wow, that's actually amazing. You know your drill bits are the perfect sharpness, and you're pressing the proper amount when you get just a ribbon of whatever the metal is out of your drill bit. Okay, let's verify that's actually correct. Or close enough, rather.
That's actually not. I thought you weren't supposed to get this little bit anyway.
Hey, it's too small. Yeah, actually, maybe you're right, because if they're dull, they don't have the cutting force needed to do what they're supposed to.
I don't know, in the CNC world they say chips are better, you know?
Chips are better than ribbons. To the 3 engineers that I know are watching, for a hand drill, are ribbons better than chips, or is it the other way around? Okay, so I think we've settled on a mounting location here. The chair is tilted slightly forward just to make sure we have no interference issues, but yeah, that looks good. And we've got the stock mounting location here. So once we tighten all this up, there's a track for adjustment. I think we should be good. So my friend's loading up there into his ride. Kind of interesting note, however. I've always kind of, well, not tried to keep it this way, but have thought about, does the outside of my house look like a wheelchair user lives here? And they gave him the wrong address. They transposed a few numbers. The guy figured it out, but he was like, oh yeah, usually you can look around and see vans and stuff outside, then you know you're in the right spot. Now, there's nothing visible out front of this house that would indicate a wheelchair user lives here. There's no ramps out front or like signs or anything that would clue them in, but there are a couple of vans, and one of them, well actually both of them, if you know what you're looking for, do appear to be wheelchair vans, so that was just kind of interesting. Although, that's coming from a guy that drives a wheelchair van all day, every day, so he knows what to look for. So I think we're still good. It doesn't necessarily look like someone in a wheelchair lives here. Not that I really care, but kind of my hypervigilance part of it is like, not trying to stay hidden, but not overtly advertising things. That's why I don't have the permanent disabled license plates for either one of my vans, and why I remove the placard from my mirror when I'm driving. I only have it on the dashboard or hanging from the mirror when I'm parked. Someone had commented something about that last year sometime, but yeah, something I'm definitely aware of. Not that you're necessarily a target if they think, oh, there's a disabled person here, let's go wreck up the place, you know, Reagan smash style. Futurama reference. What was it? I'm gonna break into people's houses and wreck up the place.
And I'll go into people's houses at night and wreck up the place.
But just interesting that someone did notice. Just saying. But yeah, he left his chair here so I can finish up the work on it. And yeah, so we've got one of the lights mounted here. It's a little bit crooked, so I'm gonna have to straighten that out. But it doesn't interfere with his foot plates at all when it's tilted down, anterior, nothing like that. And his legs don't come out past here, because I know some people, depending on how their chair is set up, you know, their legs are kind of off to the side. But yeah, I think this is gonna be a pretty elegant solution, as it were, using the stock mounting brackets on this thing. It worked out pretty well. I don't know if this is aluminum. I think it's like pot metal or something. It wound up being thicker than it looked. Like if you look at this corner, you can see, oh, it seems pretty thin. But I think that's an artifact of how this stuff was extruded. Because if you look here, it's definitely got some girth to it. But yeah, I think these little brackets turned out fairly well. They're not the prettiest thing in the world, and my saw blade is not exactly in the rollers tight. You can see that, you know, we've got an angle there, but none of that really matters. It's all tucked away under the housing of that light, so you can't really see it anyways. But I always enjoy working on projects like this. It's cool to make stuff out of nothing. Oh, listen to what this sounds like when it hits the ground, and see if you can tell me what the metal alloy is by sound. Is that aluminum? It sounds too high pitched to be aluminum. Yeah, I don't know. Tell me your thoughts down below. All right, we're getting dangerously close to being done with this light install. He left his chair here so that I can finish working on it tonight. And honestly, the part that I'm most picky about is the wiring on these things, so it's gonna take me a little bit of time to get it just the way I want it. We've got our wire here coming up out of the ICS module, and what I'm gonna do is run it underneath these side covers here under the motors, and then this wire will basically come down here, and then I'm going to attach it down here so it doesn't get caught on things and it's not near this transport bracket. I've got these wires just sort of attached right now, and these ones are not shorted out. I'm just gonna verify here real quick that our wiring is good. So let's turn this thing on and activate the lights, see what we get here. Haha, look at that. It's so bright it makes the camera blurry. Aw, yeah. So that's only pulling half an amp at 24 volts, which is actually pretty good. So yeah, I think these are gonna work great. Got them both mounted on here now. I've switched out the hardware to some 8.8 metric stuff with nylock nuts. So none of this stuff is gonna be coming loose. He does a lot of running around in the gravel. So, I mean, when I shake this, the whole chair shakes. So I think we should be good as far as solid mounting goes. But I'm gonna finish up this wiring here, and then we should be good to go. All right, we have our wiring done. It looks a little messy right now because I took off all the covers to get this routed in here. But we've got our wire coming up out of the ICS box. It splits off here. It goes over here to this light, and then over here to this light. And what I did was I drilled a couple of little tiny holes in this plastic shroud to hold the wires on here. On this chair, the caster arm does not move independently from the motors, so we don't need to worry about this needing stretch room. The motors will move a tiny bit independent from the frame, so on each side I left a little bit of wiggle room for that instead of zip tying them down here. But same thing over here, drilled a couple holes to hold that in place, and I got the wire zip tied on over here, so there's nothing anywhere near the transport brackets, so shouldn't be an issue getting those accidentally hooked. But let's fire it up and see what we got here. There we go. We have lights. Moderately bright ones. All right, cool. So essentially the covers are going to go back on each side here just like this. And as you can see, it hides our wiring nicely. We just have the pigtail from the light going in there. Same with the other side. And then once we get the front cover on, we're gonna be all set. Okay, we got it all put back together. I got the lights on there and everything. So it is now time for the burn-in test. I did check these things earlier when they were connected to the bench power supply. I turned them on and left them on for a while just to make sure they don't get hot. They got up to like 78 degrees Fahrenheit, so like, I mean, this whole setup with both these lights is only pulling 0.94 amps from the chair. So there's, I mean, LEDs do obviously get warm and there are cooling fins on here, but I just wanted to make sure they didn't get hot enough to potentially cause any issues with burning or wiring or anything like that. But Anyways, I'm lowering this thing down, then we're gonna fire up the lights, leave them on for 20 minutes or so, and make sure we're good. All right. Boom. Wow, look at those beams. Those are beautiful. Wow, they're actually pretty well aligned too. Nice. All right. Well, I'm gonna let these things cook for a while, and then we're gonna go outside and see what they do with the night sky. Or, not the sky, but see how they look in the dark. I'm pretty sure in here, with all of this insane LED lighting that I have, if they're that bright, it's gonna be pretty good outside. Of course, the second I open the garage door, it starts raining, but as you can see, we've got a little bit of light out there. I think that should definitely get the job done. And the nice thing is they don't have a crazy amount of light scatter. When you're standing around it, they're not blinding you. You have to be out here in the zone that they're blasting light. So that's great. If someone's like standing next to you, it's not gonna blind you. Okay, these lights have been running out here for about half hour or so now. So let's do one final check and make sure nothing is overheating. So it looks like our housing got up to like 82 degrees. So that seems totally acceptable to me. Yeah, it looks like we're good. Awesome. Well, I think this is going to work out pretty well. And the mounting wound up being really solid. Those brackets are 1/8 inch, whatever the metal is. So, yeah, just shaking the light moves the whole chair. So I think we should be good to go here. I can definitely work with that.